JaeBae official. This is, okay, so I want to get your opinions on this, folks. We're going to do a poll in the chat, and this is going to be reviewing this influencer, health at every size influencer, JaeBae. She claims she's helping plus-size people to explore the world confidently. So let's look at some of her recent posts, and let's decide, is she a good influence, a bad influence, or is she really not much influence at all? She more just kind of an annoying voice in the background. Let's hear what she has to say. So let's look at some of her recent posts. This one got over 1 million views.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we check to see if there's a customer size policy before booking.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course.
Is this too quiet? Because I don't think I can get, let me get the volume a little bit louder if I can. Let's see here. I can turn myself down a little bit and that'll make the rest of it louder. Okay. You may have to turn up the volume just a little bit because it's a little bit quiet, but this is as loud as I get it.
We're expected to pay more just to travel comfortably.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we think about if we need a second seat before we book a flight.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we ask for the seatbelt extender as soon.
All right, so this is a video she made with her husband talking about, as plus-size travelers, what changes do you think she made for a more inclusive, accessible, comfortable travel experience? So I want to get this out of the way. It's not fun to travel when you're really heavy. And if you have to make special accommodations for yourself, that might be necessary. So let's start from the beginning. Hopefully you folks can hear this. I'm going to reiterate it out loud in case you can't.
Customer size policy before booking.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we're expected to pay more just to travel comfortably.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we think about if we need a second seat before we book a flight.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we ask for the seatbelt extender as soon as we board the flight.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we get dirty looks anytime we're traveling.
We're plus-size.
Okay, so this already starts off with her being very much a victim mindset. So she's saying that we're being victimized, we're being seen as, what did she say? We're being seen as less than?
Of course we get dirty looks
We
anytime
get dirty
we're
looks.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course society doesn't believe we deserve to travel.
Okay, now this is already very aggressive here. She says society believes we don't deserve to travel. I don't know if that's true.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we can't use the tray table on a plane.
Of course we can't use the tray table on the plane. All right, and one other thing. She talks about people being plus size. This is, if you can't put down the tray table, you're bigger than plus size. And I'm not going to say that makes you a bad person, but don't start giving other people a hard time and claiming that other people are somehow in the wrong for disagreeing with you. I don't even know what it is.
Plus-size travelers. Of course we have to look through tons of pictures just to see if a place is plus-size friendly.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to walk sideways down the plane aisle to make sure we don't hit you with our ass.
I'm not sure what this is supposed to mean. Like, she's talking about this like this is, like this just sounds like, trying to think of the right word. This sounds embarrassing to have to live like this. And I don't see why she's so defiant.
Plus-size travelers. Of course we can't use the airplane lavatory comfortably.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to do hours of research just to go somewhere.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we use apps like Seat Guru to navigate travel in a bigger body.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we check the weight limits on like almost everything.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to worry about weight-based discrimination.
Weight-based discrimination. Now, that's one of those terms that I think there is such a thing as discrimination for people. It's possible to discriminate. It happens. Somebody could be, mocked for the way they look, and I don't think that's a good thing. But when they say weight-based discrimination, do they mean discrimination because of people's attitudes, or do they mean discrimination because of the laws of physics? If they mean discrimination, like the seat discriminates by being too small, or the walkway discriminates by not being wider, that's not discrimination. That's physics, and you have no right to claim discrimination there.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we bring compression socks on all of our trips.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we can't find our sizes in souvenir shops.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we get an extra pat down at security.
Okay, I'm not even sure what this is all about necessarily. I don't think this is okay. Let's see what you folks think. Louise says, put the fork down. Oh, with now? I don't know if it's, that's the thing though, Jamie. Like I don't know what her full story is. I don't want to start saying why I believe or what I don't believe, but I just know that lately she's been a nut. Lately she's been just so, she's so over the top, and I don't want to, see, that's a complicated situation where she just had, like I said before, she has to start loving herself. She can't, she may be angry, but at some point she has to start loving herself. And until she does, it's going to just keep getting worse. I think she played for the Colts in 2017. Dude, you are more. Yeah, I agree, Nutty. I've been heavy. I've been heavy myself. I've been I was near 300 pounds at my heaviest. And I do not recall getting like dirty looks or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to say I never experienced any negative anything, but it wasn't like JaeBae is describing. That's a good point, Nirvana. As a traveler, she is in the minority here, and I'm not saying no accommodations should be made, but I don't think it's fair for her to expect everything to change just to suit her. Yes, in fact, let's cover one. Okay, so that's her first video. I'm going to cover some more of your dots in a second. But let's cover something here. She covered an incident where it says society, here is
things that plus-size
struggle that she allegedly faced while traveling recently.
Travelers hate. When the tray table can't come down.
Okay, so Foodie experiences that, where the tray table can't come down. I don't see why what does she want them to do? How is we supposed to fix this? Or how is the airline supposed to fix this? Just get rid of tray tables? Like what? How are they supposed to fix this, JaeBae? Give us a suggestion.
Table can't come down. Worrying about asking for a seatbelt.
All right, now this is way too loud. The volume keeps shifting. Okay, let me turn this down.
Extender. Having little to no room to move.
Again, how is this the airplane's fault though? Like you think the airplane doesn't want? I'm not trying to stick up for airlines. There's plenty of problems with airlines, but that's not their fault that they're trying to fit more seats onto the plane. They have to get more seats onto the plane. That's just reality.
Narrow aisles and bulkhead seats. Tiny airplane bathrooms.
This is basically the exact same video she just did, but a different version of it.
Worrying you're going to break the toilet.
Okay, worrying you're going to break the toilet. This is a big toilet. This is not like a small, dainty toilet. This is an extra large toilet. It's got the extra large seat. This is not discrimination against you, JaeBae. This is just you being really, really big. Okay, let me see what some of you have to say about this. Agreed, Christy. And welcome in, Christy. Yeah, I'm sensing a nasty attitude as well. With Mal, it happens sometimes. That is a good point, Elizu. People have to what if there's a fire? People have to get off the plane quickly. She's blocking the path. And I understand that can happen for people even smaller than JaeBae, but she is so big, she has no way not to block the path. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't be allowed to fly, but if the plane is too small to accommodate her safely, then there's no other option. Exactly. If she's talking about the toilet that is going to break, this is not an airplane toilet. This is a regular toilet. If you're going to break the regular size toilet, JaeBae, that is a you problem. Yeah, this are all her own problems here. And exactly, buy your own seatbelt extender. Oh, no problem, Tendies. If you want to skip ahead and then go back later so you can be with the current show, that works. Or you could just watch it your own pace. Either way, enjoy yourself. Yeah, exactly. The airplane bathrooms are small, but this is not a small bathroom. This is a full-size bathroom with a full-size toilet. And if she's worried she's going to break it, then that's on her. Like, they can't reinforce the toilets that much. That's crazy. Yes, Christy Claw, exactly. She wants them to have more space on the airplane. Well, then take first class. Take a private jet. And I'm not saying that that's a reasonable plan, but that's the only option. That's the same. If I want to take an airplane and I want to have more space for myself, I can either get a first class seat or I can take a private jet. That's the same options everybody has. Yeah, she seems so darn entitled. Make bigger planes. Yep. The island bathrooms are not large for anybody. Agreed, Mastos. That's an excellent point, Nutty. There would not be. Okay, so let's see what else JaeBae has to say. And she's got another video which which I really want to cover.
Getting pat down because you're fat. Tiny airport chairs with armrests. Things that plus-size travelers hate.
Okay, so now it's replaying. So let's see another one of her videos. Okay, seatbelt extenders
Every
again.
time I use a rideshare, I'm forced to ride without a seatbelt.
Why could she not get a seatbelt extender? Why is this woman, everywhere she goes, she's an influencer. She's an influencer. She claims to be an influencer, which means that she has a job, she has money. Why can't she get a seatbelt extender? Why does she have to go without a seatbelt? Does she realize that if she doesn't wear a seatbelt, that she is potentially putting other people in the vehicle at risk, that her body becomes a missile if there's a car accident, and she's going to crash into somebody else and possibly injure them?
Because there are no seatbelt extenders. It's time to make it mandatory.
Yes, make it mandatory. Why don't we make it mandatory for you to have a seatbelt extender, JaeBae? How about we make a law that if you don't bring your seatbelt extender, you can't get in the ride? How about we make that a law?
For ride shares to provide seatbelt extenders. Read the caption for more.
Every time I use a rideshare, I am forced to go without a seatbelt. This is BS. This is just crap. This is not true. This is a lie. She is not forced to go without a seatbelt. She forces people to risk, she forces the driver to break the law by allowing her to ride without a seatbelt because she refuses to accommodate herself. This is a common issue for many plus-size individuals. No, it is not. This is a common issue only for the most morbidly obese people who refuse to buy a seatbelt extender. This isn't just inconvenient, it's unsafe. I'm glad you understand that, JaeBae. So what are you going to do to stop being so unsafe? They should reimburse drivers for the cost. Why should drivers need to buy a seat? It's only $20. So why can't she afford one? Although I always bring one, they often don't work. If each driver carried at least one seatbelt extender specifically fitted for their vehicle. JaeBae, this is just not realistic. You say every time I use a rideshare, I'm forced to go without. And then you say the seatbelt extender you have doesn't always work. Well, which is it? Are you always forced to go without a seatbelt, or do you have one that doesn't fit? This is absurd. And why don't you ever have one that goes on the airplane? I know that airplanes only have, they must have only a certain number of sizes that you can get them in, right?
Every time
Sorry, did I let this...
I use a rideshare, I'm forced to ride without a seatbelt because there are no seatbelt extenders. It's time to make it mandatory for ride shares to provide seatbelt extenders. Read the caption for more.
Okay, so let me see what some of you folks have to say here. Armrests are the nemesis. Exactly, camps. Airplanes are cramped for most people. Look at them in bubbles and marshmallows. There is not a universal seatbelt extender. So, okay, so is JaeBae talking crap when she says she has one? I am not sure about that one. Yeah, it's tough. And I'm going to say this for JaeBae. I like the idea of there being being a larger seatbelts, but there's more than just that. There's more than just that. She basically wants the entire world to conform to a problem that she can control, and that she refuses to do anything about her health and wants the entire world to conform to her needs is not fair to other people. It really isn't. Now, some of her needs are pretty easy to accommodate. The seatbelt extender, if she could supply her own, but then again, she says that she looks for her own places that she knows can accommodate her. If she has these special needs, shouldn't she go out of her way to find some means to travel that can accommodate her size? And if it's not available, then it's not available. Okay, but let's cover something a little bit more serious by JaeBae. This is a recent video by her. Let me find this one here. She had a emergency in the airport. Let me find the video, because I just had this one earlier. Here we go. Let me switch to the screen here. Okay, so this is the new video of JaeBae. This is, or not new, but this is the most recent controversy.
Example of why employees
She went to SeaTac Airport, and she said that she's going to shock you with this experience. She's faced something similar.
sensitivity. Training, a demand outlined in the plus-size travel petition, is desperately needed. I'm a plus-size wheelchair user, and on a recent flight to the SeaTac Airport, I requested wheelchair assistance, as I always do. When it came time for me...
Oh, thank you. That's an excellent point. That's an excellent place, Mouse Toes. And and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that some people need to to make additional accommodations. But if that's what it is, it just is. We can't, adding the cost would be put onto everybody if it were subsidized in that sense. Plane seat belt extenders are universal. Okay, I was thinking that because I've been on a plane before and it looked like a very basic style of seatbelt extender. That's another thing, Nutty. JaeBae, nobody's saying she has to be skinny, but she is so big that she's jeopardizing her health and very
to deplane. I saw the employee who would be assisting me with my wheelchair waiting for me in the entry of the jet bridge. As I approached her and she realized she'd be assisting me and not one of the smaller passengers.
Good evening, Goosechuck. Welcome in.
She started to walk away with the wheelchair while making comments about my size. Even when I told her I really needed the chair and needed her to let me sit down in it, she blatantly ignored me and kept walking. I was then forced to walk up one of the longest jet bridges I've encountered.
Okay, so I think this is really interesting here. She says that the woman didn't want to push her up the thing because she was heavy and she was forced to walk. Now, this whole thing, she loves using the term forced. Is there a reason why she couldn't request a different, sit there and just say, hey, I never got my wheelchair? Like if she was, I'm not saying that she should have walked if she can't, but if she's so out of shape that she can't even walk a few feet, she needs to figure out some kind of accommodation for that. And maybe traveling should not be her first priority. If you're so unhealthy that your lips turn blue and you collapse from walking a few feet, perhaps your priorities should be first on health and second on recreation.
And she didn't stop. By the time she let me reach the wheelchair and sit down, my lips were white. My oxygen levels had dropped and I almost fainted. This was my first time flying without oxygen. This woman just assumed I could walk and would rather me do that, instead of her having to push someone my size up the jet bridge. All the other attendants wheeled their passengers up the jet bridge, but my needs were disregarded. This is discrimination. Nobody should be treated this way. Share your story at...
Okay, this is discrimination. Now, again, I don't want to say here that, because if she can't walk, she can't walk. But she's not being honest when she says things like, well, you know, I'm just plus size and it's not a problem and it's my choice. And then she says, well, I'm basically crippled. I'm a cripple, but I'm okay with that. And you should have to accommodate me because I've chosen to cripple myself. Now, a lot of people have disabilities for various reasons, and I have a lot of sympathy for that. But most of those disabilities are beyond their control. Most people don't choose to be disabled. JaeBae chooses to be disabled. She chooses to be disabled. It is what it is. At this point, it's a choice to be that heavy. There's something she could do to at least try to reduce her weight. And I'm sure she's going to come back. She would come back and say, I have disabilities that are not related to my weight. I have this disability, and that's why I need the wheelchair. But the fact that she is so heavy is clearly the real reason she needs the wheelchair. She can argue all she wants about what the quote-unquote real reason is. But she was out of breath. She could barely stand. And if she's choosing to be this disabled, I don't think she has the right to be angry at people for not accommodating every element of her chosen disability. Did she pay for both of those seats? Apparently, the person who bought her the plane did. Thank you, Elise. Exactly. You broke your leg. It is what it is. But it's unfortunate and it's tough, and that happens sometimes. But it's not like you broke your leg on purpose and then said, hey, I got a busted leg. I need you to wheel me around now. Yeah, and pushing, and that's another thing. There was a ramp. The ramp is designed for people who are out of shape. That's why they don't have stairs. So that at least I assume that's why they don't use stairs, to make it a little bit easier for people. Exactly. They should, if her lips were turning white, they should not have let her on the plane. If she looked like she was going to collapse. Oh, no problem, Goosechuck. Thank you. You too. Agreed, Mouse Toes. They wouldn't be able to handle an emergency. Yeah, it's unfortunate. So let's see it. Let's
change.
So here, she's saying that this is discrimination, that she was expected to walk up a ramp. JaeBae is... All right, let's see another video from JaeBae. Let's see another one here.
After all the messages telling us...
This one's just obnoxious. Let me play this one. Okay.
My ordeal at sea.
Oh no, I covered this one. Hold on, let's go to the other one. All right, I got to turn off the music because it's copyrighted. Okay, she is claiming here that these are things that will make her act up on a flight as a plus-size traveler. Someone intentionally being rude to somebody over their body size. Okay, now first of all, I don't think this happens very often. And I'm not going to say it never happens, because yes, it can happen. Is this a regular, hold on, is that a regular size can of soda? Because if that's a regular size can of soda, this woman is a giantess. But yes, someone intentionally being rude to somebody else. First of all, I don't think JaeBae gets up and protects other people. She would be out of breath. How could she get up and defend somebody else when she can't even walk up an incline without collapsing? She doesn't have the energy to defend anybody else. She doesn't even have the energy to defend herself, unless it's typing on Instagram. Someone kicking my seat for the entirety of a flight. Okay, well, that's got nothing to do with being plus size. Someone being rude to any passenger unnecessarily. Again, JaeBae, I don't think you even have the stamina to defend yourself. You don't even have the stamina to stand up. And how are you going to stand up for somebody else if you can't even stand up to walk to your seat? Someone being unkind to the flight attendants, unless it's you. Hearing somebody comment on mine or someone else's weight. Why is she so hyper vigilant looking for offense? Things that make me act up on a flight as a plus size traveler. How about just not looking for trouble? All right. Let's cover another one. So the music on this one was cut off as well. So here we go. She says 853 million people fly an airline every year. She surveyed thousands of travelers. I don't believe that. I don't believe she surveyed thousands of travelers. And over 86% of them believe the airline industry is not plus size friendly. Okay, plus size or morbid obesity friendly? I agree it's not plus size friendly, but the airline industry is not people friendly. It's not friendly toward anybody. It's a business and it's unpleasant. Welcome in. Actually, I already welcomed you in. I'm glad you agree. Does she have her own area code? Agreed, Patty. Exactly. If JaeBae knows that she's not able to walk up an incline, she needs to either reconsider her traveling or the fact is she needs to focus on her health. If her health is so poor that she can't even make it through the airport without other people assisting her, she's probably not, she has no business traveling as much as she likes to think she does. Good, well said, Nutty. That's a good point, Eliza. She's just so, JaeBae seems very entitled, but let's put on I got some other videos by her. Okay, so let's go back to her Instagram, because I want to cover, because her Instagram has got some other good stuff on it. So let me find something on her Instagram real quick. One second here. I'm trying to find the right video. Hold on, I have a few of these. Here we go. This one's about pools. Let me show this one.
Isn't optional. Make handrails mandatory at all pools.
Okay, make handrails mandatory at all pools. Now, on one hand, I like the idea of adding handrails, but let's be realistic for a second. How is this going to happen? How are they going to make handrails mandatory? What is the process for doing that? Passing a law. So what's going to be the process to enforce that law? Fines. So in other words, now we're going to have government inspectors going around doing inspections of pools to make sure that they're, quote, accessible. And if they're not, they're going to be issuing fines to small business owners because they don't have a massively reinforced bar, a pole to get into their tiny little pool. Now, this pool is clearly a large pool. This is clearly a large resort. They already have a bar. But if it's some tiny little mom and pop hotel, some bed and breakfast, they can't afford to redesign their pool to accommodate people as big as livestock. They just can't do it. It's not realistic. So passing a law that is going to tell them, hey, if you cannot make your place able to accommodate people over 600 pounds, you're not allowed to operate. That is not fair. That's anti-business. It's anti-entrepreneur. It's anti-freedom. It's just a terrible idea to make it so that people are going to have to pay fines if they don't install extra large equipment suitable for the needs of one person. Because there are not that many people traveling at this weight, and frankly, there shouldn't be, because like Elizu said, it's a health hazard.
For swimmers of every size and ability. Without handrails, we're excluding so many from enjoying pools safely. It's time to ensure everyone can swim with confidence. Demand mandatory handrails now.
Yeah, JaeBae is just, and it's really the entitlement. I think that's really what it is. I think if JaeBae said like, hey, you know what? I think this would be nice. I think this is a good idea. What do you people think? Do you think,
When it comes to
if JaeBae said something like, you know, it really bothers me when I go to a hotel and I find that there's no way for me to easily get in and out of the pool. That's frustrating. I wish that this hotel had a better bar for me to get in and out of the pool. That's a fair thing to say. She could say, you know what, I gave a review to the hotel and I said it was a good hotel, but I did make a complaint and I said that I didn't like how they didn't have a bar to help me get in and out of the pool. Okay, that's fair. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to give your personal review of a place, but don't claim you're being discriminated against because they don't have a pole on the pool that can support somebody who weighs 500 pounds.
Plus size travel petition, people like to compare a person needing to buy additional plane seats to the concept of paying for overweight or additional luggage.
I think that's a very reasonable thing. Again, this isn't a matter of sociology. I have a feeling she's going to say that it's a matter of discrimination, but in reality, it's physics. And that's one thing that bothers me about JaeBae here. She talks about discrimination. And yes, there is such a thing as people discriminating based on their opinion, based on their belief. That happens. Whether it's right or wrong is a separate issue. But what she's talking about is just the discrimination of the laws of physics. Physics is not bound by the Civil Rights Act or anything like that. The laws of physics are what they are, and they are fatphobic. There's no nice way to say it. Physics is fatphobic, as JaeBae would say. The plane is based on the amount of weight that it has to take into the air. It has to do things like measure the amount of fuel, measure the trip. It has a lot of physics involved. And okay, let's hear what her explanation.
But you need to understand something. Once you check your luggage, there is a human that has to handle that luggage and get it onto the plane. And did you also know that back injuries are very common for ramp agents at the airport? To lower that risk of back injury, strict standards have been set on how much that baggage can weigh.
I just don't believe this is true. For her to refuse to acknowledge that airplanes have always cared about weight. And just so you realize this, a lot of small planes will weigh the passenger. I know it's not acceptable or cool or socially, nice to do it, but in the old days, they would weigh the passengers. They would need to know the weight of the luggage and the passengers on the plane because they didn't have these giant jets. They had small propeller planes and they could only support so much weight. As time went on and planes became larger and more robust, they were able to carry more weight. So they didn't need to worry about individual passenger weights as much. But it does matter. It's not purely about the people having to load the luggage. And what about the people having to help? But she wants to talk about luggage, people hurting their back, lifting luggage onto a plane. What about the person who has to help you get onto the plane, JaeBae? What about the person who has to pull you out of the bathroom when you get stuck? What about the person who has to push your fat ass up that ramp? Were you concerned about whether they were going to hurt their back? She's so concerned about people hurting their back, carrying heavy luggage, but she went off on that flight attendant, just called her a fat-phobic, bad person, tried to get her fired because she didn't want to risk hurting her back pushing JaeBae up the ramp. This woman is so entitled and myopic.
Also, let's be clear that luggage is an inanimate object.
Okay, I knew it. It's an inanimate object. Okay, so the laws of physics care whether an object is animate or inanimate. How does that work, JaeBae?
People are sentient individuals.
I'm not sure about you.
With the right to a certain level of decency, respect, and safety.
Agreed. JaeBae, people have a right to decency. Respect your right to decency. Have some decency and stop embarrassing yourself like this, please.
So stop comparing people to luggage.
Oh, and the right to safety. They're right, they do. They have the right to a walkway that is free of obstruction. When you're on that plane, can you promise that you will not be an obstruction in the walkway? I don't think you can.
Plus-size individual or tall individual or someone needing more space on a plane is not the same as someone wanting to bring an extra Gucci suitcase.
In the laws of physics, it is. JaeBae, you just don't know. It is. It's exactly the same. Weight is weight. Weight is weight. The plane does not say, the laws of physics don't count 500 pounds of JaeBae as different from 500 pounds of butter. It weighs the same as far as the plane is concerned.
Humans are not being carried by ramp agents who could potentially...
Yes, they are. They absolutely are. You want them to push you up the ramp. You literally have a video right here asking somebody to push your human body up the ramp. And you're now saying that humans are not required to lift other humans? You're not making any sense, JaeBae.
And we deserve space on a plane to be comfortable and safe. So
Okay, so what about the other passengers?
stop saying that if someone is taller or they weigh more, that they deserve to pay more for the same experience getting from point A to point B.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying they deserve to pay more. They're just saying that the plane has to, there's a cost for the seat. And if you need more seat, the cost is relatively more. It's like if you need more luggage. Oh, but luggage is an inanimate object. It doesn't matter.
That's just not fair, and it's not human decency.
It's not fair. You know it's not human decency, JaeBae, that you're going to stand here and argue that the lady who had to push you up the ramp somehow is not entitled to have her health be considered. She could fly as cargo. I think at this point she should. Thank you, Elise. That is a good point. And also let's point out, there's a big difference between obese and overweight and morbid obesity. When somebody is overweight, it's tough and it's unpleasant, but it's something that is within within the realms of accommodation. You still fit in the seat. Might be a little tight, but you could still fit. You could still make it up and down the aisle. You could still use the facilities. You don't need somebody to push you up the ramp. Absolutely, Nirvana. She needs everyone to accommodate her. She doesn't care about making other people uncomfortable. All she talks about is how she needs everybody else to accommodate her. JaeBae, when is the last time you went out of your way to accommodate somebody else? When's the last time you said, you know what, me being fat really makes this other person's life difficult. I'm going to not go on this because my fat body is making it harder for everybody else. When's the last time you said that, JaeBae? When's the last time you inconvenienced yourself for the benefit of somebody else? Have you ever? You're all splashed out. That's another good point, Elizu. They don't just enable obesity, they enable immobility. Because this is beyond just obesity. This is immobility. This is somebody who can't even move under her own power. I think most of us will. Does she only travel? I think it is. See, that's the impression she gets. I don't think she... In fact, yes, she has said that she has become a digital nomad and she no longer has a permanent residence. What's that, Christy? Agreed, crab apples. By JaeBae's logic, one person for one seat. Okay, well, what if two people can fit? Okay, JaeBae. Well, what happens then if we get these plus size, extra large seats and two people can fit on one of your fatso seats? Would they be able to get one seat for both of them? Or are they going to have to pay for one seat twice as large as what they need? How about that, Jay? It doesn't make sense because that's what's going to happen. People are going to say, hey, how come I have to pay for this giant seat that could easily hold two people? I could have myself and my girlfriend could fit in this same chair. Why do we have to pay for an extra ticket? Well, because some of the people on the plane are really fat and we need to hire extra people to push them around in wheelchairs. I am sympathetic to people who are heavy. I very much so. JaeBae is the least sympathetic person I've seen in a while. Good point, Mouse Toes. Those rails are not designed to support hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I'm no problem, Emperor shoving it in. That's what replays are for, right? But glad you can make it in, though. Appreciate it. Exactly, Nirvana. And it's not because they want to discriminate. It's for safety. It's for safety. If the laws of physics didn't matter and they had airplanes that could support an endless amount of weight, if the airplanes were made out of some magical material and they could expand and shrink depending how much space they needed, then yeah, I would agree. I would say that the plane can hold 10,000 pounds extra, so why are we concerned about an extra 1,000 pounds if it can hold 10,000 more? That's a fair concern, but the plane has a weight limit. What about the planes, Felix? Good point. She could become a missile. Exactly, okay. She's upset about everything. I'm sorry to hear that, Elizu. That's what I'm saying. But hold on. JaeBae cares about people having to lift heavy luggage, but not about having to lift heavy people. I think she thinks she is. And again, and Nutty, and what is being done to accommodate them? That's the other thing. She talks about, oh, well, taller people. Okay, so are they going to make the plane a foot taller? Are they going to make the plane, every plane now has to be tall enough to accommodate people who are 7 feet tall without having to bend their head? It's not realistic. This really is an entitlement issue. I agree, Empress. I tried to come into this, and we're not going to cover somebody so aggravating every week. Sometimes we're going to, hey, welcome to Grab Apples. Good to see you there. We should not. Agreed. That is a good point, Empress. And that's what she basically wants. She basically wants her own private plane, but she wants everybody else to pay for it. Okay, so let me pull up a few more of these. I don't really have too many more. At least
I can't use most airplane lavatories and need.
She is always talking about traveling at her size. If travel is so important to her. It's like when Anna. Remember when Anna was always talking about how she loved to run and she wouldn't do anything to lose weight? And it's like, if you love to run so much, why won't you do anything to help you to run more? If JaeBae loves to travel, why is she refusing to do anything to make her experience a little bit easier and more enjoyable?
Neither can many other plus-size individuals, as well as those who are differently abled. It's inhumane that the travel industry doesn't prioritize making travel accessible and comfortable for everybody.
I think they do prioritize that. This is just an ad for I think they do prioritize that, but I think that there's a limit to how much they can. Okay, so let me see. I was just gonna pull these up mostly at random. So let's try this one here.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Jay, and
so this is the kind of stuff JaeBae eats.
today I'm in Las Vegas, and I'm trying something that I'm really excited about, the Fat Shack. Y'all know I'm fat. I love anything with the name fat in it, so I'm really excited to try this. I got these boneless buffalo fingers right here. I'm about to give them a try.
Okay, now, like I say, I don't mind snacks and things, but JaeBae is doing everything she can to gain weight. She is trying to be as big as possible and then complaining when it inconveniences her. JaeBae, you've inconvenienced yourself through your size. Are you going to claim that diabetes discriminates when you need to get your foot removed?
All right, I love chicken, and I love anything spicy, so, yup. Those are like a 8 out of 10 for sure. Yup. All right.
Hey, well, yeah, they're selling them as boneless.
Try, y'all.
She does have the foodie shape. She does have the foodie shape. And it is a lot of food. It doesn't, you know, so it's zoomed out so it doesn't look like as much, but actually that is a lot of food. That is like that is a lot of chicken, and that is a lot of fries. And there's something else in here too. And that looks like a sugary soda. She eats like foodie.
So warm, yummy. Last thing, I got these mozz sticks right here. Love a good mozz stick. Oh, look at that cheese pool.
She is so much like foodie. It's like if foodie went traveling all the time, I think she'd be JaeBae. Okay, so let me pull up, let me see if we got some other good ones here. She has so many of these. Oh, here, talking about Ozempic.
If you or someone you know
this is now her trying to stir up a lawsuit, or she's being used as a patsy, perhaps. But let me let her explain it.
taking Ozempic, Trulicity, Wegovy, or something similar, stop scrolling. You could be entitled to compensation. Have you experienced persistent vomiting, gastroparesis, or stomach paralysis? What about intestinal blockage or bowel obstruction after taking Ozempic or similar drugs? If so, Allied Law is here to help. Allied Law has top-notch attorneys who have already recovered over $10 billion for individuals and families. Here's the best part. You won't pay a cent unless they win.
Welcome in, Stackers. That's an interesting point. Thank you for sharing. Agreed, Tucker. I don't like to be rude and just say, oh, she should lose some weight. But at this point, JaeBae is doing everything she can to make herself heavy. It might be. I'd have to compare them side by side before I can really say. It's tough. And again, this isn't to criticize her for being fat. This is more to criticize her entitled attitude. But, you know, if you're fat, you're fat. You can work on it. But there's no reason why you have to be so obnoxious.
Win for you. No upfront cost or hidden fees. With Allied Law, they'll simplify the legal process, so you can focus on your health.
I love how she's trying to get people to say that they've trying to do lawsuits for Ozempic. This is just feels so, it feels so scammy, doesn't it? All right, so this is her first 20 days. Oh, the audio got removed on this one also? Okay. So anyway, this is her digital nomad. Creating representation for plus-size travelers is a dream turned reality. Despite the voices telling us to stay home, I'm one of those voices, travel isn't just for some, it's for everybody. I don't have a problem with her traveling. I have a problem with her complaining constantly about how everybody else needs to do more to accommodate her. Okay, great. I'm happy for her that she travels. I think that's good. But the issues that we brought up about safety on the plane is a fair one. If she is not able to safely fit onto the transportation, that's an issue. All right, you know what? I think that's good for tonight. We covered basically a full show.